Welcome to the very first episode of the Amsterdam Founders Club. And you might be a little bit surprised to see me today, because today we are flipping the script, and normally Marcel would be sitting and hosting, of course, the Amsterdam Founders Club. But today we're going to discover a little bit where the Amsterdam Founders Club comes from, how it evolves in the future, and what that new mastermind program really entails. Welcome to your show, Marcel. And are you ready to get into it?
Very happy to be on my own show, I guess.
Exactly. Welcome to your show.
Thank you.
Let's rewind a little bit. Let's go back 2 years ago. How did the Amsterdam Founders Club start off?
Right. So it all started after I had exited my previous business. It was a tech business, a platform used by millions of people in the United States. And at some point I'd realized that, it wasn't really fulfilling anymore. I was spending a lot of time looking at screens and doing things online. And what I missed was seeing the real impact on real people. So I exited that business, and then I went to a next adventure. And what I thought I wanted to do was become an international keynote speaker. Especially I wanted to share about my journey of building a business, building a network, and getting clients as an introverted entrepreneur. So basically many times people think that introversion is related to shyness and outgoingness, but actually it's more about an energy continuum where being an introvert means like you slowly lose energy from having a lot of conversations and interactions with people. Whereas as extroverts, generally you get energy from conversations with people. So as an introverted entrepreneur, you need to navigate those things a little bit differently. And I was like, okay, I built this business. I got all those clients and partnerships in the United States. Let's share that with people internationally. And I thought like, well, it's going to be my dream lifestyle. I'm going to be flying business class to conferences all over the world, give a nice talk, and then go to the next thing. So I spent a couple of months, I think, preparing a keynote. And then my first speaking gig was in South Africa, in Cape Town. So I took the flight from Amsterdam to Cape Town, delivered the speech, and actually it was received very well. So far, so good, right? Well, what happened obviously was a multi-day conference that afterwards a lot of people want to speak to you. And as an introvert, I didn't love being the center of attention all the time. And I guess also I didn't think this through well enough because all of those conversations were now about introversion. It's like, okay, after one conversation, I was already tired of it. So that plan was put on hold. I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? I thought, well, maybe I haven't been to Bali in a while. Let's just take a flight to Bali away from like all the social things in the Netherlands, just take some distance and think about what's going to be the next step. Like, of course, I did get a lot of quiet space, right, to think about the new business plan. But what also happened was I started to become a little bit isolated. And I tried all these different new business ideas online, tried to find product market fit, but it wasn't really working. I was getting in a loop, in isolation. So after a while, I realized, or I actually remembered, like, hey, I'm really good at organizing meetups and events. I've always done that as a hobby. Like in cities all over the world, I've done like meetups for digital nomads as a way to meet people, build a network, give other people a good time. So it's like, okay, if I want to get into the world of entrepreneurship again, now that I'm not a shareholder anymore at the old business, I want to know what's working, what's not working, getting some new ideas and inspiration. I should meet other entrepreneurs. So why don't I organize an event for entrepreneurs while I'm in Bali?
That's amazing. And what happened afterwards? Because then you had like all those business ideas. You were thinking about, okay, like what should I do? What should I do next? And what was then like the step that you took to kind of like founding the Amsterdam Founders Club?
Yeah, that's very interesting because I organized, the first event was an entrepreneur dinner in Bali. It was at a place called Rice Cafe near Canggu. Really magical evening, and it was like very easy there in Bali to get a group of entrepreneurs together. So we had like 30 people, I believe, and like somehow it turned into a popular weekly event for entrepreneurs in Bali. So that all went quite effortlessly. And my idea was, of course, to get inspiration, ideas from entrepreneurs. I was pre-product market fit in a way. So like very difficult phase as a founder if you want to launch a new business. So, and I did get a lot of new ideas, but I also realized that, hey, I'm actually good at organizing events, bringing people together. I really enjoy it. And there was obviously a demand for it because founders at any stage, they benefit from connecting with other founders to get like fresh perspectives on problems that they have, but also learning how others solved similar problems. So it really can save a bunch of time to learn from other founders, and also the strategic partnerships that can sometimes come out of those connections. So it's like, okay, actually maybe organizing events for founders, building a community for entrepreneurs is a business. So, and that also solved the problem of like, my initial idea of being a keynote speaker and being in the center of attention. Like if I organize an event, people talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly. And when did it all come together then for you? Like when was the time that you said like, okay, I've validated the kind of the product in Bali. When did you then take it overseas and back to the Netherlands?
Well, yeah, let me think, because there is like a lot of trial and error in those 2 years. And often I thought that I was on the right track, but then I needed to pivot again and again and again and again. So after a couple of months in Bali, I brought it to Amsterdam. And there I invited my existing network of entrepreneurial friends to a very simple entrepreneur dinner in a public restaurant. I had a reservation for a table in a restaurant with surrounded by other people as well. So that was my event. Super simple, nice event. That was the first step of starting to build the community in Amsterdam. But I didn't have the business model yet. If your question is when did you figure out the actual validation and business model, it didn't come until like 2 months ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's been like almost 2 years of trial and error and constant pivoting. Tried so many different events and models. It took really long to figure this out.
Yeah, because I think it's what maybe many people also don't know. Coming to those events, you organized countless founder growth nights with more than 2,000 participants over the last 1.5 years, I think.
Yeah.
Which is an insane number. You have like more than 600 people in a community. Like it's insane numbers and insane growth. What are kind of like for you the biggest lessons like out of this period, like growing this community and also like organizing those events for you?
Right. So when I just started out with the first event in Amsterdam, they were my entrepreneurial friends. So I knew exactly who was coming. At some point, especially when we launched the Growth Nights, which is more like an event with different workshops. So it attracts, by definition, a lot of people, a lot of speakers and participants. And what I found out was that if you organize events for entrepreneurs and you have entrepreneurs together at one event, it also attracts a lot of people who want to sell something to entrepreneurs. So that was, I think, my first lesson, the curation of the participants at the events. I remember very well, like at some point it kind of exploded. We got a lot of people at a growth night. And then afterwards, I always ask for feedback in feedback surveys. And one feedback form was specifically saying, can we please get name tags so I can avoid the coaches? And more things like that. Like people were not saying anything bad about coaches in general, but like there were a lot of early stage coaches trying to land their first clients for their business. And a lot of the entrepreneurs at the events, they had the feeling that they were being sold to, and it made them feel uncomfortable. So after that, I put like anti-sales copy on every sales page and email, like do not come to our event to promote your business or sell your services. It's really to connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. If business happens, it's fine. I know people get clients from the events, but it cannot be the goal to go to the events and pitch your business.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit the curation of who is at the event, how do they behave. And that's only the first step in the curation of the participants, because we also had the issue of, or it's nice in a way that we had founders who were like still landing their first clients, were starting their new business, and founders who did like 60 million euros in revenue per year with their business already. So yeah, sometimes the more experienced founders felt like, hey, what am I actually learning from this event? So that is another thing, like being more specific about which participants you want at the event, who the event is designed for.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I think what maybe people that come in now to the Amsterdam Founders Club don't know, it also used to have a different name. Like, it was also called No More Networking.
It's called No More Networking.
And I think that also already set a little bit the tone to like showcase also the participants. Say, this is not your usual networking event. And like as a participant myself, I can really say that like you also get this kind of warm feeling of this community. Like no one was actually pitching. People were more talking like passionately about like what they're building and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because of course we're all founders and everyone wants to tell their idea and I mean, but then it was more like an exchange. And then if people wanted to collaborate or wanted to do something, that always happened like 2-3 weeks later or
Exactly.
like outside of the community, which is of course much nicer than like just like those business cards and LinkedIn connections and stuff like this. So that was always like really, really, really nice. If you look back now to like more than 2 years of after you organized your first event, and take a moment and maybe even take a step back about like the biggest learnings that you've encountered over the 2 years, what would you say then?
Really take feedback to heart, even when it's sometimes not easy to read everything. At the events, you always get like really positive feedback. On social media, you'll see people really happy. But then I always made it a point to send a feedback survey after every event to every participant. And people generally only complete that feedback form if they're not happy about something. And so, yeah, it's not always nice to read, but it's very important. We once thought it was a great idea to do a barbecue in the summer. Obviously, I thought it was a great idea. And a lot of people thought so too. And in the evening itself, I thought everyone looked so happy. But in the feedback forms after, I read like, hey, I missed my last train because it all took too long. And like people were really unhappy that we didn't stay on schedule. So ever since, I made it a point to do what I can to stay on schedule. And it's really difficult with a like completely packed schedule for an evening event like that. And also the building where we do it, it's like multiple floors. So you sometimes need to chase people like sheep to be at the right place again. But I only knew that because I asked for feedback and really took it to heart. Like, okay, even though everyone seemed happy in person and on social media, there is also this other side of the story of feedback that I didn't see yet. So that is actually maybe the biggest lesson of organizing continuously successful events. Always improve based on the feedback, based on what we learn from the participants.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Are there any other big learnings that you can remember?
Well, at some point, I needed to learn how to sell out events. Of course, I started really small with only inviting my own network for the events and like personally inviting people. At some point when I raised prices for a certain event, this was a dining event at a very upscale venue, which I thought was like a great idea, and I priced it accordingly. And I remember like 2 hours before the event started, I still had to sell out a lot of the tickets. And I promised founders an event with whatever, 25 other founders or something like that. So I had to deliver on that. So 2 hours before that started, I was still calling people and seeing if they had an evening available to join, because you need to deliver every time, right? If you promise an event to meet other founders, you need to deliver on that. So that was when I realized, actually, I need to become better at selling out events, because I'm going to raise the prices. I'm going to sell to people outside of my network. Then like it needs to be such a strong offer and marketing strategy that also strangers buy an event ticket. So that is something I learned over the last 2 years. I got a little bit better every time at the skills and strategies to sell out events. And there is a process to it. And if you follow the best practices, it's very easy, very doable. But it is an acquired skill to consistently sell out events. So another thing I learned in the last 2 years is how to select the right speakers and topic for an event like the Growth Night. Initially, I wanted to give everyone the stage. So also if someone wanted to learn how to speak or had like a new topic, I was like, okay, let's give it a go. The thing is, like with that, I did a disservice to everyone, both the speakers and especially the people at the events. In some cases, we might have a very experienced entrepreneur, but he's not a good speaker or facilitator. So he's not able to convey the story in a way that people actually go away with practical insights. And in some cases, someone who wants to speak at an event, they are mostly doing that because they want the stage, if that makes sense. Either to get clients or like social proof or photos or something like that. I really learned to look at the perspective of the participants. Where are they at with their business? Where do they want to go? And what do they need? And often if you curate a lineup of speakers for founders, it needs to be somehow connected to growing the business, growing the revenue, growing the profit. Even if it's something like mindfulness or public speaking, soft skills for an event for founders, it needs to be kind of connected to growing that business. So I learned to become a lot more strict and to say no to 90% of speaking applications, to only get the ones that are most relevant in topic with good public speaking experience and that also receive positive feedback from the participants.
I'm so curious to know because you started to organize those little like dinners with your network. It was also like popular. I went one of the dinners myself. It was sold out. Everyone was there. But this is of course not a Founders Growth Night with keynotes and speakers and like 100 people like attending. So how did you then take it from like those little intimate dinners to like the idea to the Founders Growth Night? How did that happen?
Right. So that started with an absolute failure on my account. I started to organize my first entrepreneur retreat or founders retreat. I thought it was a brilliant idea. And I was in Argentina at the time, I believe, when I announced it. And I rented an accommodation with 22 bedrooms, I thought. Long story short, I completely messed up selling out that retreat. I wasn't also in the Netherlands to promote it at my own events. And I ended up with, I think, 2 or 3 rooms sold. So I gave away almost all of those rooms. Actually, I gave away all the rooms for free because I also gave a refund to the people who paid. And we had this retreat for founders that was a success, except not financially for me. And that gave us a lot of exposure. And at this retreat, what we did was something called Unconference. So instead of having a formal program, every founder at the retreat could suggest a workshop or a talk that they wanted to give. And we would have breakout rooms and people would kind of organize their own content. That worked really well. That was the highest rated part of that retreat. And then not very long after, I was like, okay, let's try this in Amsterdam at a non-retreat, just an evening event. So I rented a small place. I think it had a capacity of 22 or 24 people. We had 2 little rooms. So that was the first growth night. It was tiny. We had 2 sessions with 2 speakers. And it was just very quickly fully booked. And people were really happy with it. So I was like, okay, now I'm onto something. This is way easier to do than those dinners with all like people's allergies and like the seat changes and like the contact with the restaurant. It's like, okay, let's see if this can be something. And the next event we did at a space that was a lot bigger and instantly we had a lot of people as well. And I think one of the secrets was that the growth night, it contains workshops hosted by founders in the community. And every founder who is a speaker becomes an ambassador. So they share with their network that they will be speaking at the event. So by design, the growth night is very viral. So that really helped to grow really quickly.
That's amazing. It's also really funny how from like a big financial failure, basically, you had this amazing idea and like basically like turned the Amsterdam Founders Club completely around.
Yeah.
And now fast forward, like countless founders growth nights, more than 2,000 founders in the past 1.5 years attended the founders growth nights, which is an insane number in that short amount of time. What are for you kind of like the biggest like positive learnings from this period? Like why was it so special?
What I see is the value of founders connecting with each other in like a curated space with that's selected to only have other founders at it as well. So entrepreneurs often feel a little bit misunderstood by their own friends and family. Like it's a really different lifestyle, and you get challenges that only other entrepreneurs really understand because they went through it. And so the social aspect of it is very big. I see founders leaving really happy and satisfied after those events, and also getting so many positive messages afterwards and people sharing on social media. So it's the social element, but maybe even bigger is like entrepreneurs, obviously they're building something, right? And often there's a problem when you try to reach the next level. And always, whatever problem you try to solve, someone else has already solved it. And those events for entrepreneurs, they give an opportunity to connect with other founders one step ahead to really make a big jump in that process of growing a business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that those events, they were like such a melting pot for ideas. Like I always see like people get out of it so energized and with like a lot of like new like contacts and connections, and like your agenda after such an event is always filled. And if you look more about like it from a personal level, like how, because of course you started out that mission as well, that you wanted to help other entrepreneurs like grow. That's why you also created the Amsterdam Founders Club. But how was that for you personally? Like you said, like it was a lot of work to create those dinners. Then you created the Amsterdam Founders Growth Nights, but they completely exploded. They got more elaborate with barbecues, with like keynote speakers, with like so many like elements. Like how difficult is it then to organize such a thing?
Yeah, that's a good point. At some point it wasn't that easy anymore because it had a different size. So then you need like check-in desks and a bar and a floor manager, an event manager, an MC, like all of those things. And like maybe even the organization, at some point you get a workflow, right? And you know how to sell out your tickets and like all of those different strategies. At some point that kind of works. But for me personally, I'm quite of an introvert, and I was meeting at least 60 new people every month. In addition to the people reaching out for collaborations or speaking opportunities or all of those things. I remember one time someone came to the check-in desk and I asked like, okay, what's your name? And she said, well, it's my third time. I thought you'd recognize me by now. And that was a point where I was like, okay, maybe this, like, I have a very poor memory for like facial recognition anyway, but now it was becoming very obvious. The best memories I have from the smallest events, like those dinners in Bali were magical. And I've done entrepreneur dinners in Austin, Texas, in London, like all over the place. And they were usually smaller, and I really got to connect with the founders there. And I lost that a little bit at the Founders Growth Night because we have more than 100 people every time. And yeah, I don't really get to have quality connections with the founders in the community anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's also what you really enjoy. Like you also really enjoy like talking and getting to know the founders, and also you really enjoy helping founders like go further. But like during events, like you're almost not available because you need to help like check the organization and see all the events. So it's a lot of work for you. You recently also announced that it's going to be the last 2 founder growth nights. Probably after that podcast is launching, then they might already be over. Which is really sad. I think a lot of founders going to be sad about it. But there's new exciting things happening in the Amsterdam Founders Club. So what's going to be the next step for you? Yeah,
I'm going to be focusing on a smaller group of founders. I realized that with the growth nights, having founders at all types of entrepreneurial experience and revenue, it's very difficult to curate a program that's truly relevant for everyone. And also, when I want to support the founder, the most leverage is when that founder already has traction, at least does like a couple of hundreds of thousands of revenue per year. And at the growth nights, we also had people who are just starting out, pre-product market fit. That's where I can be of limited value. But once a founder has something that I can put more fuel onto, it can go really quickly. So that's why I decided to launch a smaller mastermind group, only for selected founders that I really believe in and want to support in what they're building. Probably maximum 20, maybe 30 entrepreneurs in that group. And at that mastermind, there is both a program, so experienced founders sharing how they got to where they are today, how they solved a specific problem, whether it's like lead generation, improving the conversion on sales calls, optimizing the tech structure of a business, like aligning a team, all of those things that founders or some founders are really good at. I want that to bring that to the mastermind. So that is one element of it. The other element is peer-to-peer. So before every mastermind session, there will be an intake to see what are the current goals and challenges of the founders in the mastermind. And based on that, they'll be grouped, because often peer-to-peer conversations are just as valuable as like mentor and student conversations.
So basically it's going to be kind of like a toolkit for founders to take their business where it is now to like at least like €1 million revenue. Is that like how I can imagine it?
Right. I would say it's experiences. So like my main goal is to give people an amazing experience. So after going to a mastermind, they must feel like, hey, I really got disconnected from my screen and I felt alive again. And I felt real connections with other founders. But the value of the mastermind itself is, and that's similar to a toolkit. I bring the best founders in my network to the mastermind to share their secrets of how they grew their business, how they solved specific problems. And then because the mastermind participants get to connect with each other as well, they often are from different industries. So they have different networks, but sometimes they have different products, but an overlap in ideal clients. So it's very exciting to see the strategic partnerships that come out of there, of like businesses growing faster because they can both invest more in their marketing sales, because now they have strategic partnerships.
Yeah. And now if I am a founder and I'm listening to this right now, like who is this mastermind like really for? Can you maybe explain a little bit better if someone is maybe a fit or is not a fit?
Yeah, so I would say at least a couple of hundreds of thousands in euros yearly revenues, like 200K is the minimum, and high potential to scale to 1 million and beyond. Like I'm really looking for something that's, that the mastermind can help to grow quickly to a whole next level. And I'm seeking founders, honestly, who I'd love to have dinner with. Like I'd like to curate a group of founders from all industries with like all types of businesses, because I think it's very refreshing to get those new perspectives. But the common denominator is that we really want to have a positive impact. And we really go to those mastermind experiences, dining experiences that we do because we truly want to be there and want to connect with other entrepreneurs and help each other. Another element of the mastermind is that I'm going to be personally in the corner of the founders to help them build their personal brand as a founder. So, and that's why I'm so selective with who gets to be in the mastermind. I really want to be behind that mission. A lot of founders are really good at providing amazing value to their clients. Sometimes they're not so good at marketing and sales. So that's where, of course, we can also help with the Amsterdam Founders Club. Like we can invite the most special founders who joined the mastermind on our podcast here and help them share their story with the world.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, building a personal brand, I mean, by now, I think everyone should have heard it. but I think still many founders really neglect this part. So I think that's a really valuable part of the being part of this mastermind, getting out the personal brand plus all the other support that you're giving them. So it's a really amazing for everyone, of course, who is not in that stage yet, which is of course understandable if you're just starting out. Like, what do you have in store for them? The growth nights don't exist anymore, but how? I'm pretty sure you also still want to help those entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, like, those entrepreneurs might be in need of that the most. There's also going to be limited spots in the mastermind itself. So even the people within the target audience, like, not everyone will be in Amsterdam, not everyone will be able to join. So I really thought, okay, how am I going to provide something for those founders as well who cannot be in the mastermind? And I decided to take time to get all my knowledge about organizing events, selling out events, and also making revenue from events and put that in an online program. So I'm basically giving founders the tools to organize their own events. And this gives them also a lot more flexibility in terms of what their goal is with the events. For example, at the official Amsterdam Founders Club events, people cannot pitch offers, right? But events are a very powerful way to attract clients. So founders who have the skills to organize small events even, they can use that event to attract clients to their business, because if it's your own event, you can do whatever you want. And they can be a lot more specific as well. Like recently I had someone at an event who was looking to connect with, he had a SaaS business and he was looking for other founders who were also going from hourly to productized and then at a certain revenue stage. It's very hard for me to curate those specific connections at a big event. But if that person were to organize a little event specifically for that target audience, would be much easier and much more specific.
Yeah, and I think that online program is going to be amazing. Of course, you have like so much experience now with selling out events, organizing events, and also curating them. So very excited also to see that coming to life. You quickly also mentioned a little bit about the podcast, about the founder stories, like the reason why we are here today. And I'm honored to host this first episode for your own podcast. What can people expect from this format, from this podcast format?
I want to bring entrepreneurs with extraordinary track records as a founder. So they solved a specific problem and they're willing to share that with other founders who might be like one step behind that. They're not fully there yet and they want to know how to get there. So I would love to have founders who are openly sharing how they got there and also the real story. So what didn't work? Which mistakes did you make? So that's one part of the podcast, experienced founders who share like, okay, how did I get from A to B? The other part of the podcast will be founders in the mastermind who are specifically selected because they have a very special business, or just an interesting person as a founder. I want to also give them the stage and give them the opportunity to share their mission and what they're building with the world. Some of them might be like very far ahead already, but some of them might be like they have a great idea, but also it needs to get out there in the world a little bit. But it's a great idea, and this podcast could help bring those ideas out there.
Yeah, amazing. So the personal branding starts the first day you get into the mastermind. That's nice for the founders. If someone is now listening to this podcast and thinking like, oh my God, this is exactly me. I want to join the mastermind, or I'm interested in your program or working with you directly. How can people get involved?
Yeah, best way is amsterdamfoundersclub.com. I think we'll also do, but that's not sure yet. I think I'm still going to do one big event per year, like a founders festival. And I'm still not 100% decided, but 99% decided. So that will be announced there as well. The mastermind application is on the website as well, and also a way to get in touch with me.
That's amazing. So a lot of opportunities. Check out the website. You can connect also on LinkedIn with you. So many possibilities to get in touch and to work together and also hopefully join the mastermind. And now it's up to you. If you have joined one of the Founders Growth Nights, you still have the possibility to join one of the 2 Founders Growth Nights. If you are interested in the mastermind or the online program, don't forget to check the show notes and don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. And we are back with a new episode without me, but with the host Marcel in due time.